Hello everybody, and welcome again to my channel. This time I wanted to talk a little bit about happiness after the Watchtower. And yes, it is possible to be happy, and in fact happier than you were in Watchtower when you leave Watchtower, which is why I'm making this video. And for proof, you can go to videos of other groups and other people who have left. I'm thinking specifically of Mike and Kim. They're obviously very happy. They're a very loving couple who help a lot of people once they have gotten out of the mess that is Watchtower. But anyways, happiness after Watchtower. How can you achieve it? How does it work? So it can be a complicated process because when you leave something like that, there's a lot of feelings and emotions and thoughts swirling around in your head. There's a lot of confusion. There may still be a lot of fear. There may still be a lot of guilt, but there doesn't need to be. Because for those of us who have been under the influence for a while, we understand that Watchtower advocates this idea that if you leave them, you are going to be miserable, and you're just going to be sitting there waiting for the right opportunity to go back to the Watchtower. But it really doesn't have to be that way. So part of that, though, is realizing what the Watchtower actually is. And this channel attempts to present enough information, or at least some information, to help you to come to that conclusion for yourself and to make that decision for yourself. And it is highly encouraged that you do other research to fill in the answers to your own questions, because it's not possible for me or for anyone to answer all of your questions. And doing your own research goes a long way. You have permission to do that. You are free to do that. You should do that. That research will pay dividends. So once you find that information and you realize that Watchtower is not quite what it says it is, well, they have planted in your subconscious lots of things that makes it very painful for you to come to that realization. And one of the things, at least for me, that was necessary to go to the next step was for me to admit to myself that I had been a victim of the Watchtower. And I will tell you what, it is not fun to admit that you're a victim. It's almost like you're admitting that you were powerless, that things were done to you beyond your control. But that's precisely why it's necessary to do. To begin the healing, you have to realize that you were taken down a path that you would not have gone down had you had the free choice. And the things that were done to you and that you experienced when you went down that path have left some scars, some hurtful scars, hurtful thoughts, hurtful feelings. And when you have been in the Watchtower as one of Jehovah's Witnesses for any amount of time, your whole life revolves around being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Everybody you associate with are Jehovah's Witnesses. Everything you do in your life revolves around field service, meeting attendance, so on and so forth. So, when you become one of Jehovah's Witnesses, if you become one from not being in, you basically leave your whole life behind you and you assume the life of one of Jehovah's Witnesses. But when you do that, they have this community to offer you. You go to the Kingdom Hall and this is your new family, this is your new friends, these are the people you associate with, and you are supposed to tell your old associates that you're not going to hang out with them anymore, you're not going to do the things they do, unless they become Jehovah's Witnesses. However, when you wake up, it doesn't necessarily work like that. Finding a new community to be part of is not necessarily an easy thing to do. And Jehovah's Witnesses know that, which is why they provide the community for those who are joining. So each of us has to handle that in our own way, shape, and form. And there are people out there that can assist, and there are things that we can get involved in. But we have to decide what it is that we personally want to do, because we have the freedom of choice to make those decisions. So having some sort of a support system when you're waking up and leaving is crucial to having happiness, because human beings are not made to live in isolation by ourselves. And Watchtower knows that, which is why they had us get rid of all of our associates that were not Jehovah's Witnesses. Because they know that when we do that, that makes it really hard for us to leave and be happy. So if we find ourselves some sort of community outside of the Watchtower, that helps us with the transition. And there are various different ways to do that depending on where we are. There are things that we can get involved in. There are different groups. But each one of us has to make that decision for ourselves. And my personal belief is it's good that if you are waking up and you are deciding to leave, it is good to have some of that work done ahead of time. So, for example, as you're waking up and realizing that Watchtower might not be what you want to do, you will want to start establishing the community that you're going to go to, because you are going to need that. And there's ways out there. I can't direct anybody to anything personally, but you can look around and you can find something, and before you decide to make a big change, it would be good if you did that. And some people, even knowing what things are, may decide that they want to stay where they are, and that's fine. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I'm just trying to tell it like it is and trying to explain what I've seen and what I know. So that's kind of my thought. But understanding what Watchtower is and what Watchtower has done to us, and understanding that in a lot of ways we were powerless against it because of the way it was done to us, that can really help us to heal. And the healing is crucial to moving on with our lives, to being happy again, to being able to go to the next thing that we want to do. Because each and every one of us, we have our dreams, we have our thoughts, we have something that we wanted to do. And when you wake up and you realize that your life is yours to live, you are free to pursue those things in whatever way, shape, or form that you want. And I mean, life is always going to be life, so things might work out for you in the best possible way, or they might not. But when you realize that's the case, you can always adjust and move on to the next thing or try something different. And you have that freedom to experiment, to play around, to find your place. That's a freedom that you will never possess when you are under the influence of Watchtower. Unless being under the influence of Watchtower happens to be what you like to do. In that case, all the power to you. So that's just a thought, and the reason for this is because Watchtower advocates the idea that when you leave them, you can't be happy, that you are going to be miserable. And the type of people that leave the Watchtower and are still miserable are the people that are still indoctrinated. They are the people that have not educated themselves about what Watchtower has done, and sometimes they may be the people that perhaps have not allowed themselves to process the whole sense of what the Watchtower has actually done to them. And I've come across both groups of people. I do my best to put this information out there to help them, and what people decide to do with that is completely and totally up to them. I am not a licensed therapist. I will never claim to be. I'm just telling you things that have helped me. They may or may not help you, but just know that it is possible to move on and to be happy, and that's the best thing that we want to do, because we've spent, or those of us who have been in for a while have spent a long time doing things that somebody else was telling us to do and putting off our own life, and we don't have to do that anymore. So happiness is possible. Happiness should be our goal, because each of us as a human being deserves to be happy, and we deserve to enjoy our life. That is something that nobody should ever be allowed to take from us, and nobody has to. When we know what we know, we can begin to work towards our happiness and our acceptance and living healthy in a way that works for us. And it may take us some time to get there. There may be some things that we have to work through, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be upset if you're not making the progress that you think you should, because it can take a long time. If you've been under the influence for perhaps a couple of decades, it may take you a long time to work through some of those things. Compare it to a physical injury. The worse the physical injury, the longer it takes you to recover. Now, for example, when you cut yourself, in a couple days you'll be fine. But if you got run over by a bus, you'll probably spend some time in a coma, and then when you wake up from that, you're going to have to recover. And there's going to be physical therapy and whatever. So there's different levels of injury, and there's different levels of recovery associated with the different levels of injury. But that's fine. We can still work towards it being in a position where we're happy, we're well adjusted, and we're living our lives the best way that we can. And again, being happy does not mean that we're one of the pictures in the publications where we're all smiling and we've got our little pet panda bear and we're just joyous all the time. It means that we can cope with life in a way that's productive and that will help us to live the best way that we can. Life will always have its ups and downs, but that's okay. That's life. But we can deal with those, and when we get to our best place that we can be in, that puts us in the best possible position to deal with the ups and downs in life, to enjoy the highs and to ride out the lows. So that's just my thought for today, and just remember that we all want to do our best to enjoy life, because life is a gift and we have it to enjoy while we're here, so let's do that. So thanks for watching.